Welcome back to the Newcomers podcast, people, where I explore what it means to be an immigrant with immigrants like myself. Today I'm talking with Rim Aoude. Gosh, I hope I got that name right. Who moved from UAE to Canada when she was 17. But what I find interesting about her story is that Rim was born a refugee. Her dad was born a refugee. Her child was the first person in 3 generations to be born with a citizenship status. So her kids were born Canadian. So her granddad moved from Palestine to UAE. And so her parents were born there, she was born there, and then her kids. Man, there's a ton of stories in this world, man. But yeah, let's get to it. You moved from the UAE to Canada at 17. But what I found actually interesting in that is you're Palestinian, but you've never been there. Like you were born in UAE. Your parents were born in UAE. You're your granddad that moved down there.
Yeah. My parents were born in Lebanon, actually.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents were born in Lebanon, like so as refugees in Lebanon. And it took them a very long time to get to UAE, to get work permits in UAE, and even longer time to get to Canada. So my parents were born in Lebanon. I was born in UAE, and my kids are born in Canada. So my kids in my family are the first ones. Actually, no, my nephew is to hold citizenship in 3 generations. So my parents had refugee documents. I was born with one, but my kids were born with citizenship, which is a huge deal in our family. It's just a huge deal for anyone who did not hold citizenship, because even when you're a permanent resident,
Yeah.
citizenship is completely different, right? It widens your opportunities. It gives you a whole new world. So my kids were the first to be born with that privilege.
That
Status, like to have a status. That's
yeah,
that privilege. My kid, yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Like is are your grandparents still alive? Are they
My
still
grandma
around?
is. Yeah, my grandma is. Just
What
one
does
of my
she
grandmas.
say? What does she
She's
say anytime she sees the kids? Like, what does she say to them?
unfortunately she is not able to speak
Oh,
or to yeah, she has severe dementia.
oh
But
gosh, I'm so sorry.
yeah, it's okay. But it was hard for her to see all her kids immigrate to Canada because she stayed in UAE. So one by one, her kids immigrated to Canada. All of my uncles and aunts are here, except for 1 or 2. So it was really hard for her to see her kids immigrate and start in a new country. At the same time, it was expected, like to find
Yeah,
roots, right, and to find stability. So she's still in UAE actually with one of my aunts, but most of her kids are here, and her grandchildren are here.
I'm still like because for me that is when you say because you just said it so casually, but like that's a huge thing. Like 3 generations, and then it took
Yeah.
3 generations for one person to kids to finally have stability. Like, oh, we finally have a passport to hold on to that allows us to go
Yes.
almost anywhere in the world.
Yes, to be born with status, right? Because I got
Yeah,
that status at 22. Like I got my Canadian passport at 22, but to be born with that status,
yeah,
yeah, it was like in my immediate family, it was my nephew and then my kids. From my mom's side, of course. From my
yeah.
dad's side, yeah, no, from my dad's sides, I also have cousins who had kids before me. So, but yeah, so me and my cousins, we all went through the same thing. We were all born with refugee documents and then or with no status, right? And then we all immigrated to Canada, and then our kids got the privilege to be born with status. But we don't really think of it until someone asks us, right? Because it's
Yeah.
just life, so you don't really sit and think about it. And even growing up, it was not something like I thought about. I just knew that this is the desired outcome, so we don't have to ever worry about, finding a place to live or calling somewhere home. I just knew that's the desired outcome, and we worked hard for it, and that's why we really appreciate it. So Canada is actually the first home I've known or lived in. UAE was always temporary. I never thought of it as home, never. And I was always conscious that it's always temporary. And of course, Palestine is home, the real home. And even my kids, who are again 3 generations, are very Palestinian. Like you ask them, they tell you I'm Palestinian Canadian. So it's interesting.
It is like it is, and it's. I feel like I had a conversation with someone. She moved from Lebanon. She moved during the Israeli invasion from Lebanon
Yeah.
to Canada,
Which year?
and she moved in, was it 2006? I forget.
Yes. Okay.
I
Yes.
think it's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
2006 or so. That's
Yeah.
when that,
Yeah.
yeah. She talks about, she didn't say that in the podcast, but she talks about just traveling while they were going to taxi trying to get out of the country. The
Yeah.
planes were dropping bombs, and they kept on worrying whether the bombs were going to drop on their taxi as they're trying to get across the border. And then when she moved down here, it took her a while to calm her nervous system because every single time she was in survival mode and stuff. And
I
I
bet.
wanna, yeah, I wanna ask you a bit about that in the sense that, so for you, who, like you were growing up and everything was a bit temporary. Like
Mhm.
there was identity of being Palestinian and that's home to some extent, but you
Yeah.
just kind of knew that life was temporary. It's like
Yes.
I'm okay, I'm here, but I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. When you
Mm.
moved to Canada, how long did it take you to find that where you just feel like, okay, yeah, everything is okay? Like,
Yeah, I think it was a very precise moment. So I moved here when I was 17, and like UAE was always temporary. Like I always felt, I just have to clarify first, I was born privileged. Like we were born with refugee status. But my dad had work visa and a work permit and a residency in UAE, and he had a job and he made money. So I never felt um, I was born privileged. Like
okay.
my dad had money, we had a home, we had education. Now, when my dad got really sick, things turned to the worst because then income was not coming in and there's no support, right? Because you're there on a work visa. And so I graduated high school from UAE without being able to pay the full fees, the school fees, because my dad couldn't pay. He got sick and he had to stop working. And so I could not certify it from the Ministry of UAE. And to apply to a university in Canada, you had to certify it. Like you had to have certified report cards from your high
Yeah,
school, right? And I remember like arriving to Canada, and then the second week I went to Concordia University in Montreal, and I saw a counselor, and I said, "This is my situation." And he goes, "Okay, but you're Canadian, you have the right for education." And they enrolled me in university right away on, so not on a permanent basis. They said, like, you're going to have to keep a certain grades in order for you to become permanent at the university. But it was no question. And that's when it hit me that, oh, wow, things are going to be fine because again, education is a privilege. You have to pay for it to land in Canada, and then suddenly be like, yeah, you can go to university, get your bachelor's, even get your master's and your PhD. And money is not really a problem because they can support you. They can pay for your education. All you have to do is work hard. That's when it hit me. I'm like, okay, no, I can do it here. Like I can do very well here. Like nothing can stop me. Things that people take for granted here, right? Like how cheap
yeah.
universities are and free education. People take it for granted all the time. So it was that. It was that, yeah, for sure you're going to university. You're not gonna not because you didn't pay,
Yeah.
and me graduating. And then also till now, I'm like 40, turning 41. Like I can do my master's anytime I want. I can do my PhD anytime I want, and it's not gonna cost me much.
Yeah.
And I think education opens the door to everything in life, personally,
Oh,
again,
I
because it's a
agree.
privilege where I
I
come
agree.
from.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I mean, I see a ton of people who come on Twitter, especially, and they go like, "Oh, school's a waste of time and stuff." And I'm like, well, I think you can say that if you probably grew up in the West here. I think.
Yes.
I think. Like, if you come from where I come from, and I'm from Nigeria,
Yeah.
education is a privilege. Like I have an MBA. Honestly,
Mm.
I know the advantages it gave me in life. And so if someone says to me that education is not a privilege, I'm like, I'm sorry. Well, maybe you to certain people,
Yeah.
it is nothing. To me, it is everything,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know, and
And
just,
your kid must probably, you're gonna push him to go to university,
oh,
right?
he
Yeah.
has to. I'm sorry. Like, he has to. Yeah. I mean, for whoever is listening
Yeah.
and thinks that I'm being very yeah, oh yes, he has to go to the university. After that, he can decide to do what he wants to do with his life. But university, oh, he has to go there.
Exactly. Get
Yeah.
that baseline. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Because
has to go
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You know, because I also think that, and we're going sidebar here, but I also think that people, sometimes it feels like society, society just forgets what it has done to get to some place,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
they discard every single thing that we've done in between. And so you see some conversations, and when people talk about school in such a very offhand, not serious kind of way, you look back at society and you're like, all the things that allows you to say these things were built because of education.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
100%.
did people didn't just come across them by just sitting down somewhere and by the river and the idea came to them. No, that's not how it works. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. But as a sidebar, let's come back to this.
Yeah.
It's an immigrant conversation. So 17, move here, start school. I'm sorry I'm going to deep end with you here because I
No,
think
sure.
your story is just, I don't know. But for you, as you started struggling, as you start to, I call it struggle. Some people don't call it struggle, but just trying to
Mm,
adjust to the new cultural nuance and stuff. Who was the Reem that was showing up? Was it a Reem that was raised in UAE?
mm-mm,
Or was it the Reem that was like, okay, this is finally a place where I can be myself, which is Palestinian Reem? Is that the person that
mm-hmm.
showed up when you moved here?
100%. It's not a proud thing to be Palestinian in the Gulf or in the UAE. You kind of hide that fact. Even when I was, as a Canadian, I went to work in Qatar. And I love Qatar and I love the Qatari people, but saying I'm Palestinian was not something you advertise. You always hid it. It's when I came here that I became loud and proud um, and very vocal about my, opinions, whether about politics, religion, how I want to live, and just being myself, like free of all society, like social. I don't want to say obligations, but expectations. Because the Middle East, like even us Palestinians, there's social norms that you have to really
Yeah.
stick to, right? Canada allows you to be like, okay, no, some I will stick to some because the values align, but then others I will not because
Yeah.
I don't need to. So no, 100% became more Palestinian in Canada, and also became more Canadian in Canada.
Yeah. I think that's one. I feel like that's Canada's blessing and curse,
Mm,
which is that Canada allows people to be themselves.
yeah.
I think where we are struggling right now as a country is we need to now decide, because the thing about multiculturalism is, I mean, like I'm always very careful when I say this because I feel, there are people who just jump on those things and use them for stuff. But
Mm,
the thing about multiculturalism is that it's great, but then you still need to sort out what's the value system, because you can't really
yeah.
have a multi-value system in a country. So you can
Yeah.
have people from different cultures, but you need to have one value system. And
Yeah.
I feel like where
Yeah.
we are as a country at some point, we need to have the hard conversation about, yes, we are multicultural, but what is the underlying value system that guides what Canada, like, what
Yeah.
does it mean to be a Canadian? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like that's but for me, that's Canada's blessing and curse. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you if, for most people I've spoken to, they always say that, this is one place you come to and you're allowed to be yourself.
Hmm.
There's no one saying, no, no, you can't be Palestinian, or no, you can't be Nigerian. No, of
Yeah.
course you're Nigerian, Canadian. No, that's amazing. That's beautiful. You
Yes.
know, So for me, like that's one beautiful thing about this place that I really love.
Yeah. I know at work events when I talk to my American colleagues and I ask curious questions, they take it the wrong way because being different there is not necessarily a good thing. But in
Yeah.
Canada, you celebrate difference, or
Yeah.
I mean, at the surface at least, right? We really celebrate difference.
You have to
And
go
of
there.
course, there's, yeah, because there's some, of course, there's racism, and of course, there's discrimination, and of course, you're gonna have a harder time as a Palestinian or Nigerian in Canada than a white person or a European. Of course, this exists, but it's on the surface level. I've never faced discrimination in Canada, never, ever, ever. So my experience tells me, people celebrate differences here, and
Yeah.
people are curious, and they welcome that difference
Yeah.
versus other countries.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, you get that point that you get. I've heard that in a ton of times in about America, where it's like you have to be American. You
Yes,
can't
yeah,
be no,
something else.
no.
Yeah,
You're American or you're not. You're not
yes,
American. There's nothing like, oh, I'm Nigerian American. You can say that in your rooms and your private parties, but when you come
yeah,
outside, are you American? Yes.
yes,
There's
yeah,
no.
yeah, absolutely.
you know um I'm just kind of kicking the can down the road. So you I want to just talk about something because you mentioned a bit about it when you talk about the Qatari thing.
Mm,
And so you come here 17, we'll probably come back to this if we have more
mm.
time, but I'm interested in what led to saying we're going to Qatar. Was it work, like we're going to Qatar, and then what led to say we're coming back? Was it still work, you know?
Money. It was driven by money.
And that's allowed, that's fair.
So my husband arrived to Canada when he was 10, so he was a citizen for a very long time. I just became a citizen, I think, at 22 and a half, maybe 22, maybe a bit younger. And we got married young. So I was 22 and a bit, and he was 27. And he got a work opportunity in Qatar.
Okay.
And there was absolutely no reason to say no to it. It was a lot of money, and it was only for 2 years. So we were like, yeah, we were young, we don't have kids, we had just
Yeah.
bought a condo, and we just got married, and we both have full-time jobs. But that work contract was huge, and we were like, yeah, for sure, 2 years, like nothing is gonna,
Yeah.
happen. Well, it ended up being 11 years.
Oh wow.
And we stayed there as long as they were renewing his contract. I even had a very good job. So I had a really good career at Qatar. I worked for Qatar Airways for 7 years, progressed beautifully, like a beautiful career journey. And then I worked for Qatar Financial Center, so I was also making money. We were doing very well. The minute his contract ended, that's when we flew back. So we knew we are gonna stay there as long as it made sense. Both kids were born there; they were very young. Um, but now, like in hindsight, and we knew we're coming back. Like nothing, we knew it's temporary because again, we grew up in the Gulf, so we knew the
Yeah.
Gulf is always going to be temporary. So we actually like you talked about not buying proper blinds. I never bought proper blinds in Qatar. Never bought proper furniture because in my head I was like, it could be one
I
more
was gonna
year.
ask you that. I was gonna ask you
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
it was always temporary. It was like never in my head was I loved living there, but never did I think we're gonna stay
Yeah.
there for long. And my kids went to French daycares and French school because we live in Quebec, so they had to learn French. And my husband only spoke to them in French because he didn't want them to struggle coming back. He wanted them to come and just like continue in the school
Yeah.
system with no hiccups. So we lived there temporarily. We saved our money. And then, yeah, so his work contract came to an end, and that's why we came back. But I would have, regardless, think I would have come back because my kids were getting older and I just wanted them to grow up here.
Yeah.
We didn't get to that point. Like, we didn't have to make
Mm-hmm.
that decision. It was made for us. But yeah, I think after like 6, 7, when your kid is around 6, 7, I would want them to grow up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask you something about like how you all set yourselves up. And my follow up question on that with that is, how do you do it? Because it's so interesting how humans we're so different based off
Yeah.
what we've experienced as we were growing up. Like I'm finding so hard to imagine myself living and saying to myself, "This is temporary." Like
Yeah.
it will drain me. Like it will literally just tire me because I'm just like I always like to put my roots in. And so like just like
Mm,
when we were planning to move, I had friends saying, oh, your family can move and then you can stay in Nigeria and make some money. And I'm like, no, I can't do
yeah,
that. I'm just going. I just so I know that I'm gone. Like I'm going there and I'm going to try and settle.
yeah,
But again, I guess I assume that that's how I was raised. That's my cultural context. That's those are the blinders I'm carrying based off the world I've lived in. And I'm just saying for someone because it feels like for you it just felt like what this is just his second missionary journey, just like how the kind of
yes,
life I lived when I was a kid. And I'm
yeah,
just going to go back to what I now call home.
yeah, yeah. No, it was that. It's a good contract. We're gonna make good amount of money. Let's go save that money so that we can buy a house in Canada. So it came with like objectives to make our
Yeah.
lives easier in Canada. So it was an opportunity, and we saw it as an opportunity. And then when we came back, um I wouldn't say we struggled to come back or to adjust our lifestyle, because lifestyle in Qatar is so different from here. You have someone cleaning for you. You have someone doing the shopping and bringing it. It's such an easy lifestyle. It's luxurious, right? And then you come here and you're cutting our
Yeah.
grass and you're shoveling the snow. I know a lot of people struggle with it, but we actually love it. We embraced it because that it's more aligned to our lifestyle, active and dependent, independent, and not and just also saving our money.
Yeah.
So it was really easy coming back too. Maybe because we saw Qatar as temporary. It
Yeah.
wasn't. We never thought of it as a permanent
Place.
place, even though it was a beautiful life. Good jobs, beautiful life. Our kids were born there. I don't even miss it, which is so funny. It's not leaving. It's not like leaving home, right? Like there's
It's like
nothing.
did you feel like you're living in a hotel for like 11 years? Is that what it felt like?
Kinda, yeah, yeah. Even though I made like very close friendships, and like big milestones, like having kids,
Mm-hmm,
becoming a
mm-hmm,
mom,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know, becoming a manager, like all the big milestones were there. But still, like I just I don't feel that. I never felt it was home naturally, right? Because again, you're on a work visa there. So they
Yeah.
remind you that you're on a work visa. So you come, do your job, and when you're done, you leave. Like you can't even stay beyond that. Um, if you lose your job, it's really hard to stay in that country. So yeah, we came back. It was an easy transition.
Yeah, that's you raise such an interesting point about that thing. I feel like we gloss over it as human beings. You know how like money is important and everything. But you're saying things that if they are missing, then like it's all somewhere in your head, you sort of know that like this is not really the end of it all.
Yeah,
And as human beings, I feel like we're very good at our brain is very good at suppressing things at the back of our minds and telling us to forget it,
mm,
you know. And like, no, 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 it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But really, inside you sort of know like this is not it because see, just talking about all the things you had friends, you got had kids there and stuff, but somewhere in you, you're just like, well, I'm here for a bit and I'm going back at some point,
yeah,
and all that just happened was the day you went back to Canada, it was like life just went on. And.
yeah,
And that switch is so interesting to me because like life just went on, and the other part is just okay, that's gone.
yes. But we're planners. Well, my husband more than me, but we're planners. So that's why the kids went to French daycare and schools.
Yeah,
We bought a house while we were there. We made sure our experience is relevant to when we come back. And when we came back, we were both pretty high level in our careers. But when we came back, we said whatever job we get, we're gonna accept. So I went back to being coordinator. So I was managing a department of three, and I went back to becoming a marketing coordinator. And my husband like
Canada.
was yes, and my husband also took a low level job. They paid well, they weren't bad jobs, they weren't minimum wage, but not at the level we reached in Qatar. And we were totally okay with that. And we planned that, right? So we knew that when you move countries, your experience might not really be
Yeah.
relevant anymore. So better save the money and, and then work your way up again,
Yeah.
which we did. We worked our way back. Um, and so we were just prepared. We prepared ourselves mentally, but also like we had the house, we had family, the kids spoke the language already. So we just we just moved in, and we moved in September, and then COVID hit in January. So so we were so happy that we took those jobs, because imagine we were picky about the
Yeah.
jobs, and then we just didn't accept these roles, waiting for the perfect role, and then COVID hit, and it was
Yeah.
going
It
to
was
be
a mess.
impossible, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just played out. So we're planners, we're realists, so we're very logical and,
Yeah.
realistic people, and we don't care about moving backwards, because sometimes you need to like take to step back in order to leap forward.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you have that mentality, you can survive anywhere.
Yeah. I think,
Well, in Canada you can survive because there's free education and free medicine. Not everywhere. In
Yeah,
Canada you can
Kai is
survive.
amazing. Kai is amazing, to be honest. Yeah, Kai is amazing. And you that point about our ego telling us, like, I mean, I always say, I always preface it with, it doesn't excuse the fact that Canada seems to struggle with translating immigrants' experience across. It does struggle. Like,
Mm,
just even just translating it from a basic understanding that this person has value, because then they ask you
yeah,
Canadian experience and stuff. Canada struggles with that.
yeah.
But then you're right about when you move across countries, just kind of accepting within yourself that, okay, different context, different culture, probably different ways of doing things, and that's
Hmm.
okay. If I have value, I'm going to walk myself back up to who I was before.
And if you work hard,
And if you work hard, you have to work hard, honestly, because
and immigrants do work hard. Like
yes, oh, we do we have a
we work
choice?
really hard. Yeah,
Do we have a
no, exactly,
choice?
exactly. And three of my good friends immigrated to Canada recently, and I gave them that advice. I said, accept any job. You're gonna build your network. You're gonna because they also came from senior management positions,
Yeah,
and then you're gonna have more opportunities to grow and then choose. And one of them did do exactly that, and within a year, she's back to senior management. So it's because she's a hard worker and she had
yeah.
the experience. She just needed that like Canadian experience on her resume, to make
Hmm.
recruiters feel better,
Comfortable.
Yes, yeah. So I always say, like, it's okay if you step back. Eventually, if you work hard, you will step, especially in Canada, you can re-educate yourself for very
Yeah.
cheap, right? You can, the government will support you if you need to
Yep.
learn a new language. Like in the case of Quebec, you can learn French. And so really all you have to do is put in the work and just be smart about it.
Yeah.
Um, but again, maybe I'm saying that from a point of privilege because I own a house and, financially we were comfortable. But if you come and you're not financially comfortable, then it's harder maybe to jump
That-
forward. But there are opportunities.
yeah, I think that as long as it's, because what I understand from what you're saying is that you come, yes, you might not be financially privileged, but when you come, you were probably, maybe let's just say you were a VP at your former place. Um,
Mm,
it's it's okay to say to yourself that, okay, I probably don't understand how a VP is treated here, and if I say I'm going to apply for an SM or middle manager role because I have that experience and I can show it, then that's
mm,
okay. I think where I struggle with Canada is just the fact that that person is going to come with all the experience, and then the recruiter is going to treat them like as if they just came out of school, like they just
yes.
recent graduates. I think for me, that is the problem I have. So they say no kind of experience. But I'm like, yo, like that dude or that lady or has a ton of experience in their country or their former country, and they're here. Your job is to translate that experience into what does that mean for us as a business.
Mm.
You know, I think
I don't know.
that's
Maybe
the
yeah, recruiters maybe are lazy sometimes, and there's so many options, so they go with a safe option. But
yeah,
totally,
yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah.
Um, you see a lot of engineers coming from
Yes.
So many countries, and they're working as draftsmen because they cannot work as engineers or doctors. One of my extended friends, they're a family that arrived from Gaza, and the son was a nurse in Gaza during the war. So to be a nurse in Gaza during the war means that you've seen the worst trauma
Yes.
and you've treated the worst trauma. And till today, it's been a year, he cannot find a job as a nurse in Canada. You'd think they would jump at that opportunity and that experience, but it's such a long process, as you said, to like take his past experience and qualifications. And sometimes it makes sense, especially if you're a doctor or a nurse, because there's people's
Yeah.
lives. But then there are jobs where you're like if you're in marketing or a sales
Like what are
executive.
we talking about?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah,
I can understand sales. I can understand sales to some extent because sales requires that you probably have a network and stuff. But
yeah,
marketing, come on,
yeah,
you actually want someone with a different perspective because they'll bring something different to our creative process.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
But
yeah,
Canada,
sometimes it
gosh,
doesn't make sense.
no, sometimes it doesn't make sense.
But you can re-educate yourself, right? You can
True.
go back, get your master's for a very good, like cheap price, reposition yourself and reapply from an advantage. So I think there's always a way in Canada. You just have to be smart about it, and you have to really put your ego aside. Expect to not make money for a while, and then you'll get there eventually. If not you, your kids are going to be educated for free. They can go to university, and they're going to have the same clean slate, or like the same leaping board as everyone else. So it's thinking long term. I think that
Yeah,
makes newcomers happier in Canada.
yeah. I mean, I do wish the job market was a bit more robust and
Yeah,
stuff, you know. But yeah, it's crazy. We're kind of rounding up now, so I have a couple more questions for you. But I've been thinking about this, just been knocking it back of my head. When you moved from UAE to Quebec,
yeah.
how did you deal with the French?
I still don't deal with it, and I'm so ashamed of it, like really ashamed of it. So I tried. I went into government gives you classes to get to
Yeah,
get educated. So I did like the first part of those classes. But then I was an immigrant with no money who valued education. So I was working full time and studying full time, and French just took a back seat because when you're an immigrant, you're also supporting your
yeah,
families back
yeah,
home. It never stops, right? So, so I put French on the back burner for a while, and I said, okay, after I graduate and I get a full time job, I'll go back to learning French. Got a full time job, and then we moved to Qatar. Had kids, got so busy, came back to Canada, and I took private lessons for a good 6 months to learn French. But then
yeah.
my volunteer work is heavy, full time job is heavy, being a parent is heavy, and I make more money working for Ontario than I would ever in Quebec. It's just my line of work, right? So I always tell people my kids speak it, my husband speak it, their kids are gonna speak it.
But you,
I've done my part, like you brought in one person and she produced two that speak the language. So I do not feel as guilty. I wish I spoke
I
it.
love that framing actually.
It is.
It's a
I
good
produced
framing.
two. Yes.
It's a very valid frame.
Yeah, I produce two that speak it now and are extremely smart and will go places, right? And we plan to keep them in the province. So I feel less guilty, but I wish I spoke it. My friends are all Anglophone in Canada. Like where I live is very Anglophone. Montreal is very Anglophone. I never struggle. I do understand it. So if people are speaking it, I get it. I can
Yeah,
speak a little, but I definitely prioritize education and work, and then volunteer work
yeah,
on top of learning the language. And that's fine.
yeah. Of course, of course. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's okay. If you think about identity, heritage, language, and then think about your family's journey, and I'm talking about the generational journey, like from granddad to your dad to yourself to your kids.
Mm.
Like, how have you kept the Palestinian part going? Because it almost feels like you're Palestinian, but you were on the outer part of it, if that makes sense. And I'm looking for the
Mm,
right words to use, but it's just you were born as a refugee in the UAE. So every connection to home was passed on to you from the rituals that you watched your parents or grandparents do, or the stories they told you. And as you've grown older, you formed your own perception of the world and your home country and stuff. And it's like, how are you passing that on to your kids? Like, how are you
mm.
doing that?
I don't think we were actively doing that. So they know it. We never actively sat down and talked to them about what it's like to be Palestinian because my kids were born privileged. They were born Canadians. Financially, we're doing well. They don't have to struggle. But then the war happened. And when the war happened, because it's it's the same reason why I became attached to being Palestinian. It's because, I have family members that got directly affected. My father was born a refugee because of it. He died a refugee because of that. So struggle makes you get attached to your
Yeah.
identity, and the sense of injustice makes you very attached to who you are. And so recently, when the war 2 years ago, a bit less than 2 years, started again, and my kids saw everything, all of a sudden, for them, that sense of identity amplified and got stronger. And they just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just who they are. And it's also because I work a lot with kids in Gaza. So I work with a lot of Palestinian kids. I help them write poetry, translate their work, exhibit their work. Just because I have students that died in the conflict and they saw the
Oh
effect.
gosh.
Yes, so for them they were hyper aware of the whole situation and how unfair it is, and they ask questions. And we tell them, when you're old enough, do your own research, because we want you to build opinions based on your own way of thinking versus what we
Yeah.
tell you. But of course, they can't escape,
Yeah.
you know, our environment. So that's why. And honestly, it's a little bit cool being Palestinian now at school. Like my daughter is super proud of it. And yeah, and I think injustice and struggle is what makes people attached to their identities more than others. Um, I don't think that will ever go away with Palestinians ever.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's because there's just so much, like the more they try to suppress an identity, the stronger you're gonna attach to it. Plus, we have
Yeah.
amazing food. So
Yeah.
we have amazing food. So that just that alone makes you fall in love with it. And amazing. And I always say my mom wrote poetry in Arabic. I wrote poetry in English, and my daughter writes poetry in French. But we're all Palestinian. And my mom wrote about Palestine. I write about a lot of things, but a lot of times about Palestine. And my daughter, like, surprised me just a few weeks back. She came back with a grade of 90. She wrote a French poem about Palestine, and the teacher loved it. And it just hit me. I'm like, three generations, three different languages. You just have to adapt. My parents spoke to me in English because they forced me to learn English because they thought it's the way forward. We insisted our kids learn French because we knew it's the way forward. I don't know what's going to happen with my grandchildren, right? Like, but you adapt and but you keep your identity, but you adapt at the same time.
Huh. I'm gonna end this here.
Yeah. We'll end it on a high note.
No, I think this is because gosh. Thank you. That's all.
Oh, you're
Like,
welcome. That was a good conversation. I had fun.
like, thank you so much. Thank you
It was a
for
pleasure.
sharing your world with me. Thank you.
No, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Now that was some story. I mean, I can't even imagine when she said that. I can't imagine what she went through when one of your students who you're teaching in Gaza died because of the war. I don't even want to imagine what that feels like. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy the conversation. You know, as I always say, please, if you know someone who love the story, to send to them or share with them or send them a snippet. If you know someone who should talk to who has a great story, please send them my way. As always, please like, share, subscribe, forward this to someone, We're on Substack, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcast, Overcast, everywhere you get your podcast, you find us there. Have a good one, everyone.